Yvonne Heath is showing up with us today to talk about her organization, Love Your Life to Death, an organization that helps people prepare for and navigate grief, transitions, and end of life with heart and humor. You're connected with the Heart of Hospice. I'm Helen Bauer, here with Jerry Finter.
Whether you're a family caregiver or an end-of-life professional, we're here to enhance your hospice experience by connecting you with information you can use about end-of-life care. This episode is sponsored by BeyondWordsCo.com. Beyond Words ensures no one feels alone through life's hardest times. Their care packages support those going through grief, loss, or difficult life transitions. You can also send a care package for birthdays, retirements, promotions, well wishes to encourage, say thank you, or just show appreciation. Order your custom care package at BeyondWordsCo.com.
We have such an amazing connection with our guest today. Yvonne Heath, the founder of Love Your Life to Death, is with us today.
Yes, and she has got some energy.
She does. Some good, wonderful energy.
Yes, absolutely.
It's because she's a nurse.
I don't know that that's true.
You want to be really careful.
Yes. Did I stutter?
You did. She's just an awesome person. Yvonne Heath is the founder of Love Your Life to Death and the I Just Showed Up movement. Since 2015, she's been sharing her message globally using heart and using humor, which you will hear in her interview with us. She's also an award-winning author and a celebrated TEDx speaker. She's just fun.
Yes, and she's got some passion and some really, really good insights when it comes to navigating grief and preparing for grief as well. So we hope that you enjoy this conversation that we had with Yvonne Heath, because we certainly did. So here's our interview with Yvonne Heath. Yvonne, we are so excited to have you on the Heart of Hospice podcast. We've been looking forward to this, so welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here.
Awesome. So we were looking at your website, and you have a picture on your website, and you're holding a tambourine. Tell us about that. What was that? Just a prop, or is that something that you? You have it there.
She has it on her desk.
She just showed it to us. So tell us about the tambourine. What is that a symbol of, or
what in the world do you do with it?
Oh my goodness, I am so excited to get to share this story. So, just a bit of a backstory. When I left my 27-year nursing career, wrote my book, Love Your Life to Death, which all of that's just this big, huge surprise that, what do you mean? I mean, I was a chemotherapy nurse for many years. None of this was on my radar, but I realized, I don't know if you've heard that we're a society that's very death phobic, ill prepared for grief, death, and dying transitions, of course you have. And so I wrote my book, and then as I was interviewing people and having all of these conversations, I with like people that have been in the deepest trenches of grief, found joy in their lives again. It was all just so extraordinary, continuously learning from these beautiful people, professionals, healthcare providers, patients, their families. And I put together 7 takeaways, these principles that I believe are essential principles to live life to the fullest, learn to grieve and support others, and yes, have the talk about end of life long before it arrives and diffuse the fear. So one of my takeaways is, of course, learning how to just show up for yourself first. And one of the things I share is a self-care toolbox, and in there I have trinkets from patients. So when I'm grieving, I acknowledge and allow my grief, and I also nurture myself along the way, right? So in there, cards and trinkets from patients that say thank you, and you've been wonderful, and I appreciate you, and movies, and all of these different things that help me to, nurture my own self, right? To take good care of myself. And then there is also a tambourine. And what the tambourine reminds me of, first of all, is some really great times in my life. I used to love to dance on stage and, just have a really good time. And if there was a band and they'd have a tambourine on the stage, I would just like go and grab it and play it and, be up there with the band. I've done that in Texas and Toronto and all over the place. And this one local band, they kind of caught on to me, and I don't think they minded, but one time it was like, oh my gosh, sorry, Yvonne, we don't have a tambourine for you. And I said, that's okay. I have one in my purse. And so I kept playing with them. And I have that tambourine symbolizes to me, first of all, these really great moments in my life, right? And it reminds me, yes, I'll have fun again. Also reminds me that I am responsible to make my own music, to create my own coping skills, my own strategies. It just reminds me, right? Like, how many people try to make other people happy, right? We try to fix things. We try to make other people happy. I say, no, the greatest thing that I can do is make me happy. I am responsible for that, and I can love and support others. I can't make anyone anything. So I will just be a great example with my tambourine, and it is just my wonderful reminder. So I always have my tambourine with me.
I love that. I love the concept that you take it with you wherever you go.
Yep.
That is great. Well, I am so glad that I asked that question then. I was just simply curious to know why the tambourine in the picture. I'm glad I asked. That's awesome.
I'm glad too. No, you know what? It's funny because no one's ever actually started the conversation with that question. And I thought, oh, I'm so excited that you asked.
That's perfect. Well, that's a great lead in. So your book and your organization, Love Your Life to Death. Tell us about the work you're doing.
Oh, it's just so funny when people say, why did you choose to do this? And I know I'm sure you're going to nod and say, I didn't choose this. It chose me, right? Like you're a part of, I graduated as a nurse in 1983. And, 88. And I just realized that along the way, I worked in 10 different hospitals in the United States and Canada. And many times I pretended I was fine when I wasn't, right? There's grief, trauma, crisis everywhere. Oh, I'm the nurse. I'm going to be the hero. I will stay strong for everyone. And I just suffered excessively. It's like it chipped away at my own soul slowly. And then how are you doing? And you pretended you were fine. You thought you should have all the answers. You were always very hard on yourself. And I speak for anyone who is in healthcare. And eventually I couldn't take it anymore. And one very, very specific thing that happened in my life that catapulted me into this was our older son at age 16 had tremendous grief in his life, had a knee injury. His snowboarding dreams were destroyed. And he went down a very dangerous road of drugs and addiction. I was a chemotherapy nurse. I had twins who were toddlers. I had this son that we were, trying to help. And it was terrifying. And I kept pretending I was fine, right? Went to work, smiled, I'm okay, handling everything. And I wasn't. I was falling apart. And I didn't want to reach out and ask for help. And I also realized that people that I thought might be supporting me were running the other way. And right. And I thought, like, where are my people? Or they would ask the quick question, hi, how are things going? And I guess they're backing away and they didn't really want to hear the truth. I couldn't take it anymore. And I kept working in chemotherapy, and we were treating people we were prolonging many sick lives and not having real conversations. And I just couldn't do it anymore. And so as many people have changed their entire lives, there was a pop-up on Facebook, how to write a best-selling book. And I was like, oh my goodness, honey. My husband's a paramedic as well. So he already gets all of, that's it. I'm going to leave my 27-year nursing career and write a book. Isn't that amazing? And he's like, that's really great, dear, except that you don't write. I said, I know, isn't it fantastic? And it was just like this. I became this kooky author in the forest, and everything changed when I sent out one email. And I said, I want to write a book. I don't want surveys and statistics. I want real stories of people being in the trenches of grief, getting through to the other side. What helped you? What was not helpful? Anything. Will anyone share their stories? Well, that was in 2014, and it is many years later, and the stories haven't stopped coming. I was so surprised and shocked. People were stopping me in the grocery store. People, hey, I want to tell you about my aunt. Oh, let me tell you about my mom who died 50 years ago, and I've been grieving ever since, and no one will let me talk about it. Just wanted me to be able to hear the story. And so my book, I shared people's wisdom and incredible stories, ages 11 to 101. And it really was life-changing for me. And some of the stories are heartwarming, others heart-wrenching, grief and joy all mixed in. And then somebody said, well, in the beginning, they said, well, if you want people to read your book, you're going to have to be a speaker. And it was that's a hard no. I am not going to be a speaker. Sorry. I would like my book to magically get into everyone's hands. Then I realized that wasn't going to happen. And the rest, I needed to put my own fears aside and just say, this message is bigger than me. It's more important than my own fear. And I did it. And I was terrified. And now I'm okay to speak to anyone, anywhere, because I am my hot, messy self. I don't care if I cry. If I forget what I was going to say, I'm going to say, I just forgot what I was going to say. What were we talking about? I allow my humanness. And I even did my TEDx talk, which was, that was a huge, from being terrified to speak to doing that. And it's now just been this extraordinary, beautiful journey. I know I will be continuously learning. And again, I think the greatest thing is I'm okay to get it wrong, right? If I say something, do something, and it wasn't helpful, I'll say, you know what? I'm really sorry, and I'm here to learn, and I'm here to do it better next time. Imagine if we all were able to do that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not airbrushed and I'm not edited. And, I've been on shows and then I see like my hair sticking out or like my shirt sideways. I'm like, yep, that's me.
You're one of my people. I like that.
But that's a great lesson for grief when it comes to interacting and being present with somebody else's grief. It's okay to show up and be a little bit messy with it.
Well,
grief is messy in the first place. And if maybe you misspeak or it comes out cattywampus, then that's okay.
Absolutely. Well, you said just show up. That's so after I wrote my book and I said, I believe that every adult should read this book, or every teen, whoever's able to read it. But it has to start younger. And then I started pacing. I get all anxious in my house and I start pacing. So we need to teach everyone of all ages, have these normalize these conversations at home, work, school, in our community, wherever we are, everyone should be a part of, I don't want to should on anybody, but we can all be a part of the journey. Right? It isn't just about healthcare. We have sanitized and medicalized and professionalized everything, when the truth is, and this is what I heard in all of my years of speaking to people, I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say. So we avoid because we're afraid to do or say the wrong thing, when the greatest thing we can do is just show up.
Right.
Just show up. Just show up. So we started the I Just Showed Up movement. I have this bracelet and I never take it off because I need to just show up for myself first with my tambourine. And I need to, when I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say, no matter what people are going through, grief, transitions, end of life, a hard day, a crabby day, whatever, just show up. Don't know what to say, but I'm here. This is really hard. It's not our job to fix it. See, that's the beauty. That's the beauty.
Right.
Even healthcare professionals, you can do whatever you can to support people and, cure what you can. We keep trying to cure death, which leads to burnout. Anyways, that's a whole big thing too. We talk about burnout. Well, let's stop trying to cure death. Let's have these real conversations throughout life. Let's be proactive.
Right. Absolutely. So in many of the conversations that we have had on our podcast with our guests, there have been several who have mentioned almost the same exact thing that you just did, that in the midst of your grief, people you thought were going to show up didn't show up. In fact, many of them who considered them to be your friends just disappeared.
Yeah,
it's like
people you're close to.
Right. It's like, what happened to them? Why are they not here to support me? I thought they were my friend. And that seems to be a very common response that people have. And it goes back to what you're saying, is that people are afraid to show up because they're afraid they don't know what to say, they don't know what to do, they don't know how to behave in those situations. So a lot of what you are doing through your Love Your Life to Death program is encouraging people to just show up. So tell us a little bit more about how people can do that. What are some of the things that you encourage people to do when they have a friend who's going through a loss, grieving a death? What are some of the things that you encourage them to do?
Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, you just know you're in the right place, right? Where it's just like, I love this conversation. The first thing we need to do is we put so much pressure on ourselves, right? To do it right. Oh my gosh, what am I going to say? What should I do? I don't know. And I say, okay, get out your pen. First thing, are you ready? Ask.
Right.
Ask. If as soon as two things, so many things. As soon as I hear, and when we talk about grief, it isn't just about someone dying, right? Grief is experienced in any heartache. It's our mental, emotional, physical reaction to loss, transitions, change, divorce, diagnosis, job loss, whatever it may be, addictions. And when you hear that your friend is going through something and it sounds hard and you're sitting there, should I call? I don't know. Call. I don't want to bother them. Call. If they don't want to talk, it will be a very short conversation or they won't pick up the phone. Leave that message. I don't know what to say. I just need to let you know I care. People say, well, what if I cry? Say, well, go ahead and cry. Allow your emotion. You're crying because it's sad. That's why you're crying.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't think anyone's going to be upset. Oh, I don't want to make them cry. Well, right? I don't want to remind them. I promise you, you're not reminding them.
Right. They have not forgotten.
They have not. They are living it every single day, right? So just show up. Don't question yourself. Just walk over to your friend's house. And be okay with being vulnerable and messy. My friend, ironically, who mentored me when I was writing my book, and he wrote my foreword. And who knew when he was mentoring me that 3 years down the road on Christmas Eve, his 36-year-old son would not wake up. He died in his sleep. Christmas Eve, has, a wife and a baby.
Oh, my goodness.
Excruciating. Now, when people say I'm a grief expert or anyone's a grief expert, we're all also human. I didn't have anything amazing. There's nothing amazing or, that I'm going to fix it, that I'm going to say. I mean, I read this. He sent a mass email. I mean, I think he was in complete shock. And I picked up the phone and I started talking to him, and it was such a high squeaky pitch. I was crying so hard. Right. And I was just blabbering on. Oh my God, this is devastating. And I was hysterical, and that was okay. And then I got off the phone. I was like, oh, that poor man, God, wow, that was not very smooth. And I didn't care. right? And he knew. And then I drove to his house and I just grabbed him and hugged him and cried. And this is when it counts, right? There's nothing miraculous to do. And I shared in my talk that one of the most beautiful moments for me when we were going through all of this, my son's doing much better, by the way, years later, but one of the things that a teacher at the school did, who was also a neighbor, I had like one of the worst days with my son. I mean, the police were involved and I was just shattered. I was just destroyed. And I got home and I just can't do this by myself. I mean, my husband, we were going through it together. And this one teacher had just put a little pot of daffodils on my front porch. I still get choked up and I laugh at myself because it just, whatever, I don't even know what the card said. Here for you, thinking of you, Claire, whatever it was. I stood in my driveway. I saw it and I cried for an hour. It said like, thank you, right? It's those little things. And so the thing to take your blinders off, stop putting the pressure on yourself that, well, I'm not an expert. We don't need an expert when we're grieving. Professionals will be a part of our journey, a portion of the time. The rest of the time, we need our compassionate community to just show up. When you're grieving, even if you get counseling, so you might have counseling or grief support for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, once a week, and maybe some follow-up. Your grieving is with you 24/7, and there is no timeline. My cute little friend even called me and said, I've been doing like grieving for 6 months now. I think I went through all the stages. P.S. There are no stages. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross she didn't want the world to go crazy with these stages. He said, so I should be done soon, right? And I went, oh, my sweet little friend, if only. It doesn't work like that. You could have a grief attack 10 years later and I will just show up for you.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not a cake that you bake and when it's done, you take it out. It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness. I've been grieving. Oh, thank gosh, that's over.
Yeah, I'm done with it. Wouldn't it be nice if it worked that way?
Absolutely. But however, the thing is that if you said, okay, perfect, it lasts 6 months, wouldn't you just I think people would just, I don't know, take a bunch of Gravol or like drink for 6 months until it was over, right? Like they would numb out for 6 months.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's the thing about this grief, right? The beautiful thing about it is that grief and joy can coexist. And when we acknowledge and allow our grief, it can loosen its grips in us, right? We don't want to feel it, so we push it away. And then it's just like this huge thing that we're carrying, as opposed to, I am having a hard day today. And grief also, it isn't always just crying, I'll cry. Anger, irritability, fogginess, not being able to get things done. And I even have taught my children when they say, oh, so-and-so was so crabby today and irritated. And I said, that's really hard. I'm acknowledging, right? That's really hard to deal with, isn't it? What do you think could be going on? They're like, oh. And this is when they were younger, when I just started writing, I know, Mom, they could be grieving something. Right?
But it's true.
Yeah, and you taught them well. That's awesome. That is awesome.
They are a part. I always tell people our 9-year-old twins, because they were 9 when I started writing the book, I said they were kind of like our experiment because, it's the next, for our generations, there's a lot of damage control, right? Let's create social change so our youth grow up with these coping skills and strategies, normalizing these conversations. And my kids, wow, the twins, Jaden and Tanner, they were a part of this. They sat with me while people told these stories. They were a part of my book. They spoke in it, I wrote their stories. And, I thought I'm going to have to soften this a little because Tanner, as we're driving into town, and he says, this whole thing about making a big deal out of death. I mean, everybody dies and people are just going to have to get over it. And it's sort of a yes and, Tanner, like I get it. Yes, and we might want to just be, soften that delivery a bit. And then my daughter Jaden came in and she said, "Oh, Mom, I found this somewhere. Is this kind of what you're talking about?" And it was from a song, I believe, and it was the acronym HOPE, HOPE, hold on, pain ends. And I went, wow, yeah,
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
good.
And maybe, it doesn't end per se, but the acuity of it does.
Right.
Right. How we feel right now in the deepest of grief. Thank goodness we will not always feel like this forever. If we allow our feelings, keep our hearts open to love, allow the joy.
When someone you know is going through grief and loss or a difficult life change, a care package from beyondwordsco.com is the perfect way to show you care. Founder Katherine Hines learned through her own grief experience that the gift responses we offer could be so much better. Whether you're wanting to show support to someone dealing with a challenging medical diagnosis or encourage a friend going through a difficult life transition, Beyond Words can create a care package for someone you care about. The care package items are thoughtfully selected, sensitive to the grief experience, and come in earth-friendly packaging. Each item included in a Beyond Words care package has been hand-selected to bring comfort and honor self-care. Even the colors are chosen with intention, in shades of sky blue, restoring greens, and peaceful earth tones to calm, soothe, and uplift. They can even design a care package that's appropriate for workplace giving. Order your care package at beyondwordsco.com today and ensure that your loved one doesn't feel alone during life's toughest times.
You said, it bears repeating, grief and joy can coexist.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I remember after my grandmother died, 9 grandchildren, I'm the youngest, and all of us sitting around with her kids in her house, all of her things, sitting there and just talking about, her glasses and her perfume that she wore for 50, 60 years. It was always the same scent, and laughing at some of these things that we did to her as a grandparent and the things that she did with us. And so grieving horribly this loss, and yet the joy in recalling those stories. There's such a balance there.
Grief and joy, it's a roller coaster, and we have to learn how to hang on through the dips and curves. And I know in hospice, I was working in hospice, and my hero was Patch Adams, and I for those who don't know Patch Adams, you must see the movie Patch, as Robin Williams, who lives in my heart forever, starred as Patch, who brings joy to people who are suffering the most. And he's silly and he's a clown. And, I often went to work dressed ridiculously, and it's already serious enough, right? So imagine you're being treated for cancer or any other illness, or in hospice, or you have a new diagnosis, and there's tremendous grief in that, and someone also makes you smile or laugh and gives you a little break in the seriousness of it all. How wonderful. What a great way to honor your grandmother. Oh gosh, remember that perfume? I don't think you smelled it. It's a little strong, wasn't it? I mean, I've had those moments with people who were at hospice, who were in the dying process, and we had a little laugh, and people never want to leave their dying loved one, right? And I always say, I make it a point to let people know, please know that if you're with someone in the dying process and they take their last breath, the moment that you had to go to the bathroom and you just couldn't hold it any longer, and you never forgave yourself for that, they chose to, that's when they needed to leave. I tell, choose to believe that, right? Because how many people, and this one lady didn't want to leave the room, and this woman was at hospice for weeks. And I just looked at the lady and I said, I don't know, whatever her name was, Joanne, can we convince Diane that it's okay for her to go and have a shower? Have you seen her hair? Have you seen her hair? And we had a laugh, right? Yeah. And she said, go have a shower, you smell. And we all laughed. To reassure people, if you are supporting people, if you just showed up, that's good enough. If they take their last breath in the moment that you had to go have a shower, that's when they chose. That's when they chose to leave. And here's the other piece of that, going back to people not showing up. If you did not just show up for someone in the past, forgive yourself, ask for forgiveness, do it differently next time. Those who could not just show up for you, they didn't know how. Their fear stopped them. This one lady, she was interviewing me on a podcast, and she started to cry when I was talking about Thai, because she said, my friend went through this with her son years ago, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't call her, and I have felt guilty about that ever since. I said, why don't you call her today? Call her today. I said, you're carrying this, and she doesn't even know you're carrying this. Call her and say, I was a schmuck back then. I was terrified. I didn't show up for you, and I am sorry. I've carried that ever since. Imagine, we're so hard on ourselves, right? Like we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah, that's really important to, first of all, request the forgiveness, because then it releases all of that guilt that she's been carrying, and it's true for any of us. So I think that's really good advice, that if in the past you weren't there for someone, ask for forgiveness and choose to not do that again, and be there for the other people in your life.
Yep. Do it differently next time. And the caveat to that is, if they choose not to forgive you, you apologize or whatever you need to do, with no attachment to what the result, like whatever they're going to say, right?
Right.
And if it is someone who died, you cannot go physically. Sit and talk to them on the mountaintop, write a letter, burn it, saying, I need to release this. I wish I had done it differently. Because we also are a society that we don't want anyone to feel about, oh, you did the best you could. Don't worry, you did everything you could. Well, maybe you didn't. There you go. There's that elephant.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you didn't. Maybe you were selfish. Maybe you were just partying. Well, that's probably because you were ill prepared and you didn't know how to just show up. Right? Whatever you did, whatever you didn't do. I mean, can we all look back? I mean, I'm sure I've never made a mistake. I'm sure someday I will. Ha ha. Like, of course, we all wish we had done some things differently. If we can get to the now what, then we can do it better.
Definitely.
So here's a thought that I have when you're saying this. It's also never too late to show up.
It is never too late. And that's a huge one, right? Because people, I have a beautiful example. This gentleman said that his partner died, and I mean, he was just absolutely destroyed. And this single mom who lived in this apartment building 2 doors down, they were really good friends. They got together for dinners and etc. When his partner died, he hadn't seen his neighbor. She didn't come over. She stopped calling him. I think she was probably looking to see when he was out there, and like avoided him. And he was so hurt. I was on a webinar. He was so hurt, and it had been weeks. And I said, here's the thing. And we had just had this conversation that says she is so afraid. She doesn't know how to just show up. And then you say, oh my God, now it's been too long. And right. And then you just spiral right down this rabbit hole of, I'm a horrible person. Now it's too late.
Right. I can't show up now. It's even worse.
I can't show up now. I didn't then. I'm awful. And there's just this big spin. And I said to this man, I said, would you consider going to knock on her door and saying, I miss you, and just hug her. And I promise you, chances are pretty good that the waterworks are just going to start. Oh, I'm so sorry. Or you just, I miss you and I'm here. And again, with no attachment.
Right. No, with expectancy, but not expectation.
That's right. That's right. And again, chances are that that is I mean, they were good friends. And then again, she just spiraled in her own misery. And then you have two suffering people, right? One person doesn't feel supported, the other person feels, oh, I'm so awful. Like,
Right. It becomes
God.
a very bad cycle after a while.
it's a bad dance.
It's messy.
Yeah, and
It's
somebody needs to stop the cycle. You mentioned that you worked in hospice. Did you work in hospice in Canada or the United States, or both?
When I was in the States, I was in mostly acute care, although I worked in a county hospital, which was also a very interesting experience. So I worked in a residential hospice here in my hometown, and it was in 2007. I was on a board to try to get a residential hospice, try to get it built here in our town, and then my last year was actually at that hospice. So it was a beautiful way to come full circle.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So I'm curious about the differences between hospice in Canada, where you live, and hospice here in the United States. Here in the United States, we have the Medicare hospice benefit that pays for the majority of hospice costs. What is it like there in Canada? Where is the funding coming from for hospice patients?
So it's very interesting because Canada is often praised for our free health care, right? And it's sort of a yes, and we have free health care, and it's great unless you have a problem. If you need to see a specialist, you could wait for a year, right? So if you have an issue, and people have waited 6 months, 8 months for a broken hip to be repaired. So
oh, goodness.
If they need to see a specialist. So it's an interesting, different system. And hospice is free. The government pays for a portion of these hospices, and you have to jump through several hoops and circles and do a handstand to, prove that you need a hospice and there isn't another one too close. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know what the percentage, I want to say 50% or something is fundraising. So they have a fundraiser, and they're constantly, buy your cookies for hospice, and right. So constantly fundraising continuously, and, philanthropists, and, thank you for donating, and you get your plaque. So it's very ongoing fundraising, which, there's challenges, and obviously in all the systems. And so yeah, I'm passionate about sharing my book as a fundraiser for hospices. Many are using, and I'll donate $5 a book or whatever. So yeah, they're always looking for ways to fundraise.
Interesting.
Okay.
So just out of curiosity, since we're talking about the healthcare systems in the two countries, in the United States, we have a shortage of nurses that's been going on since before I started in nursing, and I've been a nurse over 30 years. And now we're saying we're realizing with the influx of the baby boomer generation here in the U.S. that we are going to be horribly understaffed across the healthcare continuum: nurses, social workers, chaplains, physicians, nurse practitioners, everybody. Are you guys experiencing the same kind of issue there in Canada?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting because Dr. Alan Kelleher, who is the founder of the Compassionate Communities Movement, and Pallium Canada, Pallium is an international organization, but Pallium Canada talks about wanting to have great palliative care accessible to every Canadian. And of course, that's, that they have organizations everywhere. And they're preparing us for this and helping us to understand that we all, again, need to be a part of, right? Taking care of one another. And people just think like somebody has Alzheimer's or dementia or, a chronic illness. The healthcare system will take care of them. It's like, no, actually, that's not the case. And yes, it is literally the same. And it is really time for a wake-up call. Many things need to happen. And we don't have enough hours about all the things that need to happen. However, there is this false belief that over here is where people will be taken care of. And part of that is, and I know can I just side note about BJ Miller? And I know you feel the same, so I can say it. I might actually love him too much. I hear him speak. He was here in Toronto, or we saw him in Toronto at the Death Symposium. I am just like a groupie. I'm just staring at him, listening. He's mesmerizing.
Oh,
what's that?
I'm not obsessed with BJ Miller.
Yes, you are.
He really is incredible, and the work that he's doing, and the conversations that he's having. It's mesmerizing. And I said, it's okay for me to love him because my husband does too. I said, oh my God, I love him. He said, I do too. So that makes it way less dysfunctional.
Oh my God. Yes, exactly. Right. But he's having these conversations and we're having these conversations more and more. And my goodness, community needs to realize that we cannot just keep pretending that the healthcare system will just take care of everyone. And we just need more nurses and we just need more doctors and social workers. It's a yes and.
Yes.
Yes and here's the big elephant in the room. We need to accept that we are all here for a certain amount of time, and death is not failure. Death is not the enemy. We are meant to be here for a certain amount of time. We do not all die of old age. We do not always get a warning. We are societies, Canada, the US, that prolong sick lives, right? We prolong sick lives. And I wrote about this in my book. We are giving chemo and surgery and all of these huge medical futility things that are not going to help someone have a life that's worth living to them. And people say, well, how do you know that? Because people told me. People told me constantly in chemotherapy, I don't want another blood transfusion. I don't want to have this surgery. And I would beg people, please tell your family. Please tell them you've had enough.
Right.
Let's bring you home or to hospice and have your dog and your cat and whatever wine, whatever you want. Let's stop all this. Oh no, they're not ready for me to give up. Oh my gosh.
We confuse more time with quality. It's not the same thing.
Absolutely not. So that's why, for me, my greatest thing is to help people be proactive. Let's have these conversations throughout life. Right. Let's normalize this. Let's accept. I used to hear chemo patients promise their children that they weren't going to die.
What?
Good luck with that.
My gosh, I'm looking for the crystal ball. Where is it? I just tell I don't know. I'm here as long as I'm here. I have no idea. I aspire to bug everybody till I'm 113 and then die on the dance floor doing the cha-cha. And I'm not sure, right? I don't know. And that's okay. I'm going to live the heck out of this life, however long it is. If I am in a bed and I am not able to do the things I want to do, and I can't get out of bed and I can't eat and I can't drink and I'm miserable, do not prolong my life. Just no.
Right.
Stop it. So that is part of the solution. And I'm going to be the person that says it. Let's stop prolonging sick lives that people don't want to live.
So when we have those conversations like that, say I look at my family, my kids, and I say, I'm not going to die. I'm going to be fine. Everything's great. You're not going to have to I got this. Then when I actually do become sick and the time of my death is coming up, I look at these people that I'm supposed to rely on, right? This is my village, my family, my friends, my caregiving village, and they are not equipped to take care of me at all. So in the end, I have not just damaged them and handicapped them. My care is going to be damaged. Who's going to take care of me? Because I have emotionally stunted, intellectually stunted, not prepared them at all. It's help me, help you, help me.
Help me to help you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have those conversations. What's the worst that could happen if you have a conversation about death?
People are uncomfortable. They'll survive.
That's it. They'll survive. You're not going to that question, but did you die?
Yeah, you won't die. I mean, I can't guarantee that. I guess I should say.
You're not going to die from having the conversation.
That's right. So, and people say, well, I don't know. How do I get it started? And I just say, awkward conversation coming up.
Yeah, just start.
Right. I created a program called Get Ready for Grief so that people had this resource that they could and it's the 7 takeaways over and over. And the first one is why have these conversations and how, and they say, well, my dad won't have this conversation. I said, okay, well, then talk to your other siblings or whoever will be helping to plan his death if he doesn't want to be a part of it. And then maybe you could say, hey, Dad, look, this is you didn't want to talk about this, so this is what we're going to do. This is we've done your end of life plan. Everybody else, well, I don't want any of that. Oh, well, what do you want?
Yeah, what would you want?
Like if you don't want to participate, that's okay. Then go talk to other people in your family. So if you have siblings, and I'm sorry, have you met any families who are fractured beyond repair?
No.
Because everybody thought that end of life journey and when someone died, things should have been different.
Isn't that the norm?
That is what we've normalized. And that is how we create excessive suffering. That is unnecessary. Go talk to your siblings. Listen, Dad won't talk about his end of life plan and all this. I am terrified. I want to honor him. And I don't want us to fight over the blender or Dad's one ring and there's 5 of us. I don't want us. Can we have these conversations so that when that time, and I'm sorry, I'm also going to let everybody know we're all a when, not an if. Sorry, I know. If my dog dies, I'm like, sorry? I mean, when, right? No, I mean, if. Like, okay. Have those conversations before. If there's some arguing to happen, have it now. Get it all out there so that when that time comes, you can support one another and love one another through it and know that you did the best you could to honor your loved one. You can't force them to participate in, I think it's selfish, but you can't force someone. You can talk to the others, right? There's things we can do. Yeah. And I always tell people, start with yourself. Do your end of life plan and talk about, do a video. And I mean, my family's heard this so many times, like, listen, you better not be keeping me alive just because you're like, oh, I'm so young, blah, blah, blah. No. I'm living the heck out of this life. You know what is good enough quality for me, right? And that's, everyone has their own values. Everyone has their own set point of what that is. Some people, if they can just sit around and watch TV, that's perfect. To someone else, that would be awful. So why? Like, it's ridiculous not to have these conversations. Snap out of it, everybody.
Everybody gets to choose what they want as their end of life plan. It's their wishes, it's their values, it's their decision. So they need to be able to choose that and plan that. So your program you called Grieving Your Way. What did you call it?
Get Ready for Grief.
Get Ready for Grief. Thank you. So
Get Ready for Grief.
That's a program that people can sign up for on your website?
You know what? It was interesting because, again, when I did my book and the I Just Showed Up bracelets, and when I'm speaking, I share the 7 takeaways and people say, oh my gosh, that was great. That was life-changing. Thank you so much. And then you go on about your own life, right? And then when grief arrives in your life a year later, like, oh my God, what did that speaker say about that thing? I have her book somewhere. I read it, but I think I loaned it to Aunt Betty. I want people to have a resource that's like, okay, you go to the computer and it's the 7 modules are like me having this sitting like this, having this conversation. I think my hair was blonde then. I know it's silver-haired fox, but and having the conversations, and I included many other beautiful resources, and so it's something that whatever someone is facing, it will matter in that moment, right? If someone is really taking poor care of themselves, that just show up for yourself first. There's a module on that, and like taking good care of yourself, it's non-negotiable if we want to live our life fully and be able to just show up for others and be a part of that compassionate community. And when I talk about it, it's like, I'm not going to harp on you to eat well, drink well, and exercise. I mean, that's just, it's like gas and oil in your car. Because, you better put gas in your car and check the oil. Well, of course you have to do those things. Really being empowered, resilient, and happy in your life, I think the first question we need to ask and answer for ourselves is, what do you believe about life and death? That is like, right, that create that foundation. That is like the bottom. What do you believe about life and death? What do you think grieving is? How do you grieve? And what can help you? What would be in that self-care toolbox? Like creating that, becoming proactive and having all those conversations for yourself or with yourself before. Right before grief arrives. It's usually after, and you were a hot mess and you realized how well prepared you were. But yeah, I feel like to have a lifetime resource, and sometimes you don't feel like having a conversation with someone, right? So then you can just listen and reach out if you need, if that works. So it was just, everybody needs to be supported in different ways, and I wanted every way to be possible.
Yeah, that's good. So if people want to check out your website and find out about the Get Ready for Grief program, to find out about the I Just Showed Up bracelets as well, where can they go to get that information?
Make it very easy. It's all loveyourlifetodeath.com.
We'll put links to your website in the show notes. So we have one last question to get a little personal.
Ooh.
If you needed someone to just show up for you when you're grieving any kind of loss in your life, what would that look like for you? What would have meaning for you?
I love that question because it's interesting, because that's also very personal, right? Someone would want music, somebody else would want a lot of people. So if I was in my home or wherever it was, or hospice, or wherever I was, and I was facing an illness, please bring me outside in nature, somewhere where I can see water or trees or birds and just the sun on my face. Bring me outside and just sit with me. No music. I want to hear. I just need to be outside and just show up. We don't need to have, I'm incapable of small talk. So don't talk about, I was going to say the Kardashians, but I don't need to say it. But don't talk about, like we're going to have deep, meaningful conversation and know that we're going to talk about my diagnosis, dying, or whatever it may be. So be ready for that. Let's do it outside in nature. And of course, I would want my kids around, my kids and my grandson. I'm a grand. I have a grandson. He's so far, though. He's out in British Columbia, speaking of grief. So, joy, right? That he is this amazing little man, Ollie, and grief that he's so far. And that would be so meaningful for me, right? I'm not fancy. I want to be outside and I want to have good conversation and make me some nice vegan food. I don't like cooking's not my thing.
I love the simplicity.
If you want to be able to just show up for yourself and others and be a part of that compassionate community, plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party.
Absolutely. Yvonne, love your energy, love your your sense of humor and love the way that you are passionate about all of this. So thank you for showing up for us today. We really appreciate that and are so grateful to you to be a part of our podcast and to share this time with our listeners.
Well, thank you both so much. You are so genuine and real, and you are being the change. And everyone, the beautiful guests that you've shared, their messages and their wisdom, we're all in this together, and we can all be a part of this change, right? It takes many voices, but together we can create change. So let's get her done.
I love the humor that she brings to her work. I mean, obviously, she's experienced. She's worked in nursing. She's experienced grief in her own life. And the insights that she's synthesized from all those experiences, personal and professional, have really culminated in the I Just Showed Up movement and her book, Love Your Life to Death. Just a lot of wisdom in there.
She's created some really good methods to help people. And one of those is the I Just Showed Up movement. So I mentioned in the interview with her how we have talked with many people who have said the very same thing, that when they needed others the most, people just seem to disappear. It's like, turning on the light and all the things scatter,
Right. All the things that don't want to be seen in the light of day.
Right. And it's like that with grief. If you show up with grief, people tend to disappear.
Right.
They don't want to be around that.
You remember when we talked to Sherry Dunleavy?
Exactly.
Who works in the grief industry. She said that after her loss, that one of her dear friends just vanished. Years later, she comes back and Sherry's like, oh no, we're going to talk about this.
Right.
Yeah.
And her friend told her, I didn't know what to say, and so I didn't come around anymore.
Well, I love it that what Yvonne is saying is just show up. It doesn't have to be perfect. What's the old adage, perfection is the enemy of
good?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect.
No, it doesn't.
Humans are messy, so grief is messy, so just be a little bit messy. It's okay.
Right. So here's what I'll tell you. People sort of expect that those of us who work in the end-of-life industry, we're going to know what to say when somebody's grieving or somebody has died. And the truth of the matter is, I've said some stupid stuff to people.
If I had a nickel for every time I said something dumb and put my foot in my mouth, I'd be a millionaire.
Right.
I still do it. Let's face it, it's ongoing learning. Right? It's a growth process, acquiring wisdom. I think in terms of hospice professional years, hospice nurse years, I'm still pretty young.
Right.
I still have a lot to learn. You have to be willing to goof up.
Exactly right. And so that's what I also loved about Yvonne, was that she's like, so I cry, so I say stupid stuff. So
I lose my train of thought.
I'm human.
Yeah.
I forget what I was talking about. That's okay.
Right.
And she's accepting of that. We need to be willing to accept who we are and that it's okay to show up, even if we're not fully prepared or feel like we're fully prepared to meet the situation as it is. But it's okay to do that.
Well, I think if you have this expectation, okay, I'll have to say this, I need to do that, I need to do this to get this particular grief support right, this communication, this contact with the person who's had whatever loss they've had, that's a lot of pressure. And again, it causes people to scatter, right? I can't do it. I don't think I can do this right, so I'm not going to show up at all. But if you say, I'm just going to show up with respect. I'm going to bring compassion and love and empathy and caring. You can't get it wrong.
That's exactly right. And what was that Yvonne said that we should do? Ask. Yeah. Go in with the expectation that you don't know what to say or don't know what to do. But when you arrive, you just go in and say, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not sure what to do, but how can I help you?
Right. And if they say, I really don't know, just sit here with me, Then just sit there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just be there.
Right. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all. So, love this conversation with Yvonne, and we want you, our listeners, to get the information from her website as well. So her website is loveyourlifetodeath.com. And she's got her information there. She's got some programs that you can take advantage of, including Get Ready for Grief, and also the information about her book. So we would encourage you to go to her website, loveyourlifetodeath.com, and find out more about Yvonne Heath.
Thanks for listening to The Heart of Hospice. I'm Helen Bauer here with Jerry Finter. Because we know your hospice journey is 24/7, you can always find us at theheartofhospice.com. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening, and please take a minute to leave a rating and a review wherever you're listening.
You can connect with us by sending us an email to host@theheartofhospice.com. You can also find us on social media. And remember, no matter who you are or where you are in your hospice journey, you are the heart of hospice.